This month is flying by. It's January the 17th, 2024. 12 degrees outside in Philadelphia after a brutal snowstorm, one of the first we've had in a few years. A lot of people thought that, well, we're not going to get into the conspiracy theories. But a lot has happened in the last week regarding Australia and basically that oceanic area's boxing landscape from Jai Opetaia taking on Briedis on the Fury versus Usyk undercard. That's going to be on February the 17th. Mick Zerafa signed with PBC for what I would assume is a two-fight deal to fight the winner of Erislandy Lara and Danny Garcia. But now that Zerafa Lara fight is going to purse bid on February the 17th. We're going to talk about the return of Justis Huni, Australian boxing fringe contender, I guess you can say, matchroom boxing Eddie Hearn fighter, taking on Michael Larena, Kevin Larena, who fought Daniel Dubois a couple of fights ago. That video's on the channel. That's going to be on the undercard of Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Tszyu's date, his next fight date is not happening in the beginning of March. That has been pushed back. Opponent, we don't know yet. Maybe Erickson Lubin, could be Jamel Charlo, Virgil Ortiz, we don't know. Also, Jason Moloney got a very hard-fought win this past weekend over Saul Sanchez on the undercard or the co-feature or chief support to Artur Beterbiev, who stopped Conor Smith later on in the fight. Conor Smith's first time getting stopped. This was on January the 13th. What else? Let's see. Do I miss any other topics? Those are the main ones. Well, I guess let's start here. Loma versus Kambosos. From what you've heard, it's looking like it's going to take place May the 12th.
Yep, that is correct. Before we get started, a couple of birthday shout-outs. First of all, the GOAT, Muhammad Ali, who would be 82 if he was still with us.
Mm.
And Alexander Usyk. I think he's 37 today.
Okay.
I believe that. So shout out to the GOAT and Alexander Usyk.
Mm-hmm.
Now with Kambosos Loma, it has been announced on social media that the fight will go down on May 12th, right? So it'll be May 12th in Australia, so May 11th for you blokes over in the States. It'll happen in Perth, which is in Western Australia, which is obviously the western state of the country. Perth is the capital city of Western Australia. It'll happen in the RAC Arena, which is a tennis arena, which is basically Perth's version of Rod Laver Arena, which is a very famous tennis arena. So Perth's got their own version of that. They've used that before. I think UFC's been there before.
Yeah, I have the image
event
up on the screen of the arena.
Yeah, it holds about 15,000. So it's virtually around the same size as Rod Laver. Rod Laver holds about 14.2. This holds about 15. It's a tennis arena, but they're going to use it for combat sports. Now, Perth has not seen, if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty confident I am correct, Perth has not seen a world title fight since 2011 when Danny Green fought, I hope you get his name right, Władysław Kruszczyk, I think that's how you pronounce it, a Polish bloke, for the WBC Cruiserweight title back in 2011. So it's been well over a decade since Perth has seen World Championship boxing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm a little bit behind as I'm catching up. Haney did vacate all of his titles, correct? They're officially vacant now, right?
Yeah, he's the 140 champ at WBC, so he dropped them all.
Okay, got you. All right, so it's going to be for the vacant IBF title, which we knew was going to be a belt on the line for this in the first place. I'm sorry? And the IBO.
And George's IBO, but
okay.
Yeah, no one cares.
I'm trying to figure out, like, why is the date so far away, and also what is the buzz going to be for this fight? Because let's face it, here in the States, nobody's clamoring for this fight. They're expecting for, I mean, shout out to George Kambosos, win or loss, great resume, especially going in there against Loma, but nobody's giving him a chance, and it's not, it's not a fight that's really moving the needle over here in the States. So I can even imagine George Kambosos may be Australian, and Lomachenko is famous in boxing circles, but he's not really a global ticket rating selling name, if that makes sense. So what's the buzz for this fight you think going to be over there in Australia?
Well, you got to remember, mate, if they're going to sell $60 club shows on pay-per-view, as you've said it many, many, many times before, Australians will buy fucking anything.
Yeah.
Remember, it is the novelty and the spectacle that the Australians like. Oh, shit, we haven't seen a boxing match in fucking over 10 years. Fuck it, let's go and watch two blokes kick the shit out of each other.
Okay.
So, it'll be in May. It'll be in Perth. Now, Perth's on the other side of the country. There won't be any footy to go up against that weekend because the NRL's going on across the other side of the country. The only problem with this fight is the time zone difference because Perth is like 2 hours behind the eastern states.
Okay.
So the main event will probably have to be in the ring at Perth time no later than 1 o'clock because that's 3 o'clock on the eastern states.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a primetime card over here in the States for sure. I know that.
Yeah, so the difference between you guys and us is 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So with Perth, I think you've got to, because Perth's further away again, it's probably 18 hours.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, I'm not quite, it won't be daylight savings because it'll be May, but there's going to be a big time difference between you lot and Perth and you guys over there on the east coast of America.
And here in the States, that's prime NBA playoff season right there. So, I mean, I can only imagine that this fight, especially likely being on ESPN, is probably going to follow a big-time game here in the States as far as broadcasting is concerned. Well, we've been talking about that fight. I guess we just have to wait and see what happens. We can assume that both of the Maloneys are going to be in the undercard, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, well, now that Jason got over his win over Saul Sanchez in a very tough, grueling fight, and some people are already saying contender for fight of the year, I'm like, it's a bit early to be bloody pulling that card. It's barely even bloody, it's not even late January, so I wouldn't be pulling that card just yet. But hard fought 12-round decision, got the majority win. A lot of people thought it could have went either way. He got the win, so we move on to the next thing.
Yeah, two cards, 116, 112, and then 114, 114.
Yeah. Can you confirm? I keep on hearing all different sorts of things. What is the guy Manny Rodriguez? Is he retired or not?
No, well, they said he was retired, and we haven't seen any updates on that since. Let me see if anything else happened. But he was supposed to have retired. You know, but you know, he could still hold on to the belt. You know, while I'm guessing he's changing his mind, or I don't know, but he's supposed to have retired. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's Jinko Nakatani, the bloke that knocked out his brother last year. There's a WBC guy. There's also Inoue's brother that he can fight. So there's a couple of options there for Jason. Yeah, there's no news on Manny Rodriguez since. No type of anything since he announced his retirement on October 17th, 2023. So there's no new update. So he's supposed to be retired.
All right. So, or maybe he could have a. No, they wouldn't have a unification for. Oh, yeah, they do that all the time. Unification. Actually, have they done that where a champ has a unification for a vacant belt against some other bloke? Has that been done?
They have. I know it happens in women's boxing all the time. That doesn't count. But I think I'm trying to remember. I feel it has happened before.
I know there's been unified fights for vacant titles, but I'm talking about a champ going up against a vacant title against some other bloke for a unification.
No, I can't remember off the top of my head. But, you know, I can't remember. But, you know, at the end of the day, look what's happened with, what's not a unification, but we're going to talk about it later on. I mean, Briedis and, you know, Opetaia are fighting for the same belt again. Why did they strip him in the first place? So, you know, we've seen, you know, some weird things can happen, but I doubt it. I highly doubt in this era it's going to be for a vacant title, for unification. And then you also have Takume Inoue taking on German and Cajas on February the 24th for the WBA title. So, you know, there's still possibly for maybe Jason to unify with him on that undercard, but to be honest, that's a bigger fight in Japan. You know, it'll be more money.
Yeah,
It'll be more money. So, I mean, he doesn't have a mandatory, right? No.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but he would have one.
I'm talking about Moloney. He doesn't have one ordered yet.
No, he doesn't.
Okay, so therefore his next fight can be a voluntary.
Well, wasn't that Saul Sanchez a voluntary?
Yeah, but he hasn't been ordered a mandatory yet, so he can get another one in. You know,
Fair enough,
maybe they
fair
can
enough.
bring Paul Butler. You know, he's still kicking
Yeah,
around
that
in
would
the
be a good
rankings.
fight. That would be a good fight. That would be a good fight. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, why the Moloney twins are still winning and Jason's a champion, they'll keep on appearing on top-ranked cards. That's even though it's been done that George and the Moloney twins have already appeared on 2 cards, but to be honest, who else does Top Rank have that are Australian? No one, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've got associations with other promoters and other people.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Some people are saying, oh, we've seen the Moloney
And
before.
expect,
I don't give a
and
fuck.
expect because Kambosos is co-promoted by the Bella. You can possibly, as we talked about, put Shanika on there against Shia Metcalf.
Oh, yeah, or they could, if he's still with him, they could also dig up Lucas Brown because he lives in Perth, but I doubt that.
I doubt
yeah,
it.
I doubt it.
That's a little too far down the trough right there.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, I love seeing the Moloney brothers fight, and they deserve to be on big cards. So why the hell not? So,
yeah, well, I talked about it before. They can't say Top Rank hasn't been pushing them because they always get in fights. You know.
Yeah, damn right. Damn right.
So let's switch up a little bit. Let's go talk about this Mick Zerafa situation.
Bloody hell!
Our article was released yesterday on Boxing Scene. Basically, Zerafa voicing his frustrations about waiting for his shot against the winner of Danny Garcia and Erislandy Lara, a fight that has been in talks for over a year now. It was supposed to take place at the catchweight at 155, and it could have taken place as soon as August of. I think originally they were trying to make it in August of last year, of 2023.
August 5th.
Yeah,
August
and then
5th.
yeah, and Mick Zerafa has signed on a long time ago. It's been about, what, a year and a half, right? How long has it been since he signed on for that fight?
Too fucking long. Too fucking long. Well, Mick did it to himself because remember, after he beat Hardman, he had the choice of the IBF or the WBA, and he said no. He said no to the IBF, and then took a step-aside agreement for the WBA so Lara could have his slapping contest with Garcia. The problem is that neither of those fights have happened, and from what we're telling, Mick hasn't been paid. So, can you confirm if the fight doesn't happen, the step-aside agreement does not be paid? Is that correct? Because that's what I've been hearing.
Yes.
Well, Mick hasn't received a cent because that fight never happened.
And it says he's been benched since November of 2022. Wow.
He has.
He
He
turns
has been
32 in
benched
March.
since November. He's been benched since November 22 when he had that shocking bloody 8-round fight against that Italian blokes on the No Limit card, which didn't do him any favours because No Limit were like, well, that wasn't very good. So, he's always talking about.
Go ahead.
He's always talking about the Tim Tszyu fight and this, that, and the other. If he was smart, he'd be Tim Tszyu's #1 supporter. He wouldn't be dissing him at every turn. He'd be his #1 supporter. So, but anyway, I mean, the Mick Zerafa story. It's just terrible. You look at it like, how was this allowed to happen? But
yeah,
anyway.
so basically, now Zerafa is in a situation where the only way Erislandy Lara and Danny Garcia can happen is if Mick Zerafa gives his blessing, because he's the one that can pretty much cancel the purse bid and say, all right, give me this certain amount of money, and I'm gonna let that fight happen, and he has to get an undercard slot. So now he's in control of that fight, and if Danny Garcia and Lara goes ahead, then Lara has to drop the belt. This is what I'm reading here. I have the Boxing Scene article pulled up on the screen.
Well, he would be a fool to do the same thing twice. It'd be like, don't worry about the bloody step-aside agreement. Just fight Lara.
Yeah, just get it out the way, because look.
Be like,
Go ahead.
Even if they offer him peanuts, I mean, that fight would be worth what? $300,000 at the most?
Yeah.
75-25 split in Lara's favour would be, what's that? $75,000 for Zerafa. Take your $75,000, kick the shit out of Lara, then you call all the shots.
However, Erislandy Lara, he's one of those PBC fighters. Despite his inactivity, maybe because he's inactive, he commands a lot of money. from PBC. A lot of money, like $1 million plus a fight. That's why
Well,
guys
that's
like
all right,
him
'cause-
hasn't been able to get any fights because they can't be paid by PBC and Al Heyman.
well, that's all right, because the more Lara gets, the more Mick gets. So if he
Yeah.
commands $1 million or whatever, Mick gets, what's that, 400? No, hang on, that's not right.
Yeah, yeah.
24 to a quarter of $1 million. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Well, it's going to be
Is there
interesting to
anything-
see where this goes from here, because even if they do move forward with Lara versus Danny Garcia, it will likely be a part of that PBC on Amazon Prime deal. If they do move forward with that, you can guarantee that I'm guessing we can somewhat guarantee that Zerafa's going to be like, hey, if this was the deal before the fight on undercard for a step aside fee, since y'all made me wait this whole long time, I want more, or I'm going to force this fight to go to purse bid, and then Lara's going to have to either fight me or vacate the belt.
Well, also, like
He
we
has
were
every right
talking
to
about
ask
the
for
other
more
day,
money. They've been playing with his career, and this is a known thing with PBC. That's not just people who are haters. It's their fighters go inactive, and then a guy like Zerafa is affected by that inactivity. You see what I'm saying? I mean, look what they did to Tszyu. Where Jamel just chose to go fight, Canelo. After he's been waiting for Charlo for 3 years.
if I was Zerafa, I'd say, nah, get fucked, I want the fight.
Yeah.
Right? Make him, I said, nah, I'm taking the fight. And then beg No Limit to pick up the fight. They'll purse bid it and have it in Australia.
Yeah.
That could work. I mean, there's no reason why that couldn't happen.
Yeah.
So,
we're going to see. Let me see. It says February the 16th is the purse bid. Let me make sure to confirm that. February the 15th. The two sides must reach a deal by February the 15th.
Yeah. So, yeah, Mick needs to put his foot down and say, well, I've waited all this time. I got no money. I want the fight. He would be a fool to do another step-aside agreement, because that's just going to end up exactly the way the first one did.
Yeah.
With him getting nothing and sitting on the shelf for another 15, 18 months.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of that, you want to give a shout out to Steve Spark? I didn't see that.
Yeah, Stevie Spark has retired out of nowhere at 27 years of age after the screw job last year in Mexico on the Canelo Ryder card, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's retired out of nowhere. Now, there has been reports that I read an article saying he's got a baby on the way. Okay, fair enough. But he's got some hand injuries. I think he's had 1 or 2 hand surgeries.
Okay.
And that might be the real reason why he's calling it a day. Because he can't. I read an article that his hands can't handle the grind and pain of. He doesn't want to push through the pain anymore. He just wants to go do something else.
Okay.
So best of luck to him. It come out of nowhere because he was supposed to have his debut at welterweight coming up soon. He was going to move up to 147 and have a fight at welterweight, but it's not to be.
Yeah.
All the best to him and his family. Because it was a shame, because he was quite entertaining.
Yeah, he
Good
was
old
moving
Stevie
up.
Spark.
Yeah, he was moving up. He had some
And
momentum. Win or loss, he had momentum.
And he had the guts to get in with Tszyu on a week's notice and move up 2 weight division.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit of a shame, because that came out of the blue, and I was completely shocked when I read that news. I'm like, what the fuck? Where'd that come from? So I was concerned, because I'm thinking, is there an injury? Is there health concerns? Has he got himself in trouble? But apparently, as soon as his hand is, from what I've been read, that his hand has had surgeries and his hand just can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, his hands are probably jacked up, man. I know
best
all
of luck
too
to
well.
him. I wish him nothing.
Yeah,
Wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, hope he's able to, because a lot of, fighters, especially people with, who get hand injuries, especially multiple hand injuries, they can catch up with you later on in life where you can't even bend your fingers, waking up in pain all day, every day. So them hand injuries are no joke, especially for a fighter. So I can understand, especially having a kid and not being able to hold your kids, so his wife probably was telling him, like, hey, listen, you got to sit down somewhere. So I'm glad he was able to make some money, get some momentum going in his career. Shout out to Steve Spark. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy, and Big J at Old Mate Big J. As you can see, that's his Twitter right there on the screen. Next topic is we got a huge fight that was announced with Joseph Parker taking on Zhang on March 8th on the undercard of Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. First, before we begin with this, how do you feel about what the Saudis have been doing with boxing so far?
Well, you've got to be very happy about what they're doing because they're getting shit done.
Yeah.
Right? How many big fights have those guys put on in the
last 6
4
months,
or 5
year.
years?
Let's think about the last
Yeah,
year.
well, the last 6 months, they've achieved what other promotions can't do in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they were the ones that finally got Fury and Usyk into the ring. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but it will.
Yeah.
Right? They got Joshua and
Ghana.
Deontay Wilder all on the same card.
Yeah.
None of these other promoters could do that.
Yeah.
So they've done in 6 months what the rest of them couldn't do in a decade of trying. How long were they talking about Wilder versus Joshua, or even getting them on the same card? They couldn't do it over a 10-year period. The Saudis come along and piss it in.
Yes, they did. Just said, and look, the fact that we're getting Joe Parker versus Deontay Wilder, then what 4 months later, less than 4 months later, we getting Parker versus Zhang? Like, you can't. I'm sold. I'm sold.
That's gonna be a bloody good fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Parker could do the same thing to Zhang that he did to Wilder, but then again, Zhang's a left-hander, so he has to change the game up
and a boxer. He can box.
Yeah. See, Wilder's a one-trick right-hand pony. Everyone knows that. Wilder was always a one-trick pony. 2 tricks at best. But Zhang is a very competent boxer, and that left hand is like a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
So.
Also, he's been relatively.
It's going to be a different fight.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
He's been relatively active as well.
Yes. It's going to be a different fight for Parker. But if he's smart, he can get the job done. But if not, Zhang's going to knock his fucking head off because Zhang's a big bastard too. He's not small. He's a big bloke.
Yeah.
So, but
I would. Joe Parker, he would have to more box. He was engaging with Wilder. He was always respectful of Wilder's right hand, but he had Wilder on the back foot. He was coming forward. With Zhang, he's going to have to use more strategy, and Zhang's power, he touches you, you're going to have some issues. Zhang, by the way, his last fight was in the end of September against Joe Joyce, but he had, including the Joe Joyce fight, he had 3 fights in 13 months, which is active for a boxer in this generation. And now he's fighting again Joe Parker in March, which the way he's going, he'll be able to get in another 3 fights in 2024. And it's looking like now that he's going to be fighting on these Saudi Arabia cards, because what I've noticed is the Saudi Arabia, once they sign you up, then they have you for at least 3 fights from what I'm getting from it. Didn't Jai say he has 3 fights?
Yeah, and ain't nothing wrong with that because these boys are paying some big dollars. So why not?
They got to be paying big money. And for those who don't know, they have something called Initiative 2030, where they're trying to become the next Las Vegas or Dubai. So they're putting all this money out there for entertainment, concerts. As you can see what they're doing with boxing, even if the arena's not even full, putting it on pay-per-view for $39.99 here in the States, which is unheard of. They're trying to get people to come to Saudi Arabia. Like, hey, listen, this is not what we were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I love how progressive they are in, trying to bring people there. And I've heard nothing but good things on how they treat the media when they come out there. So I can't wait to get out there one day. So, yeah, we're going to be doing individual videos on all of these fights, actually, especially Joe Parker versus Zhang, the closer we get to the fight, and I can't wait for that full card to be announced. So the last topic is, it's official that Opetaia is going to be taking on Briedis on the undercard of the chief support to Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk February the 17th. So here's the undercard. You have, of course, Fury Usyk, Opetaia versus Briedis, Joe Cordina versus Carsesi, I forgot how to pronounce his name, Sergey Kovalev's returning, Moses Ituma, heavyweight prospect moving up, Isaac Lowe. Basically, a lot of people saying that this undercard is not that good, but the fact that you have at least these 2 fights of some note here with Fury-Usyk and Opetaia versus Briedis, I'm fine with the card. So the problem I have is how this makes me feel more that Briedis really wanted that Saudi Arabian money, which is why he pushed the IBF to strip Opetaia, and now they're fighting for the vacant belt. How does that happen? I'm confused.
This
he gets
okay. I'm not going to blame Briedis for this one because the IBF were the ones that stripped Jai, not Briedis. So
yeah.
I was thinking Briedis was doing some Billy bullshit.
I think he was
carrying on like the way he normally does. But hang on a second, Briedis doesn't have the authority to strip up a tire of the belt. Only the IBF do. So I blame the IBF for this bullshit because this was completely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
What they should have done was let Jai fight Zorro, which he did, kick the shit out of him inside of one round, and go, righto, Briedis, you're up on the Fury undercard in a rematch. Way you go. There's a few quid for your problems. Chuck him a few quid, right? Sorry about fucking your... Well, he didn't get fucked around anyway. I don't know what the hell he was bitching about. But there you go, mate. There's your rematch. There's a shitload of money. Have yourself a nice little time and away you go. I mean, this was completely unnecessary. They didn't need to strip bloody Jai for the belt. And I hope he kicks the living shit out of Briedis.
Also,
which he probably will because...
Think about this, too. The IBF gets a sanctioning fee. And the Saudis are throwing around money like candy. So they get a percentage of what both of these fighters make. You see what I'm saying? So, of course they probably followed the money. Like, all right, listen, let's let them do that. Because I really want to know what was Gilberto Ramirez's thoughts on this, and maybe did he get the promise of being on the Saudi card later on? You see what I'm saying?
Who?
Gilberto Ramirez, the other contender for the IBF title.
Oh, that bloke. Right. Yeah, well, he's probably up next to fight the winner.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if he probably was promised, listen, you'll get a career high payday from the Saudis if you let this go through, not make a fuss. That's what I'm sensing. And the winner will fight Gilberto Ramirez, likely on a Saudi card.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, yeah, well, if Jai's got 3 fights, then the rematch with Briedis and old mate will probably be next on the next Saudi card, whenever that's going to be.
I doubt.
So,
my gut is telling me that these fighters are going to stay Saudi fighters for some reason. I think they're going to stay there.
I wouldn't blame them if they're making 3 times the amount of money to fight there. Why would they fight there?
Yeah, I just think that the 3-fight deals are just, interim deals, and then they'll say, all right, you did good, we'll bring you back for more,
Yeah, exactly. Well, as my old man taught me a very long time ago, you got to go where the money is, son. So, that's exactly what these boys are doing.
I forgot. Actually, do you know if it's confirmed? Go ahead.
Now, do they allow women's boxing in those countries?
No, they're not there yet.
Okay, well, they won't. Okay, fair enough.
They're not there yet. No, wait a minute. Ramla Ali, didn't she fight over there?
I'm pretty sure someone fought over there at some point. Might have been Dubai. I don't think it might have been Saudi. Right? Might have been Dubai.
I mean, well, we do know they allow women's WWE now, right? They were.
Yeah, where does Crown Jewel bloody happen? Where's that? That's in Saudi
Arabia, yeah. In that same arena.
Yeah, well, there you go, yeah. Well, that's how they broke into this. See, Perth's doing the same thing the Saudis are doing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember, Elimination Chamber's happening in Perth on February.
Ramla Ali fought there August of 2022. I remember that fight. I covered that fight. That's the fight she got knocked out. No, that's not the fight she got knocked out. My bad. Yeah, but she did fight there. So, yes, women can fight in Saudi Arabia.
Well, there you go.
But, of course, Ramla Ali, she don't even strip down doing her weigh-in, so they ain't having no Ebony Bridges or nobody like that over there, that's for sure.
Oh, God, that shit ain't going to happen.
Would never happen.
Hang on. So, when... Oh, shit, I don't know. When's Ramadan for those guys?
That's coming up. I think March.
Well, when's the Joshua... Because that won't be why Ramadan's going on.
March
Surely
8th.
not. Well, Ramadan, I think, starts just after that, doesn't it?
Yeah, around that time. Let me check real quick. Yeah, it's around that time because I know I forgot a fighter's. I think it might have been Bivol. Both Bivol and Bertabeev, they want to fight March 10th to April the 9th.
Yep, that makes sense. Yep. So they're just going to sneak it in before they start their Ramadan.
Yeah. All right.
That makes sense.
Closing thoughts at the 30-minute mark.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just glad that once again, if George beats Loma, he goes to pound for pound number 1 in Australia. He will be on the top 10 pound for pound list, surely.
But win him on Loma and TO, yes, that has to shoot him up there.
Yeah. That would be the upset of the year. I don't think anyone else, unless Nagu would. Francis Nagu, I'm tipping, will knock the shit out of Anthony Joshua. Look what he did to the Fury. Imagine what he's going to do to Joshua.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing I can't think of is that how the hell is the winner going to fight the Fury-Usyk winner? That's what they're talking about. I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah, well, remember, Francis Ngannou is now ranked by the WBC number 10.
Yeah, okay. I can sort of see that, but I sort of can't. But then again, he did knock Fury on his ass. So.
But remember, the sanctioning fees, the WBC, they want that money. All these sanctioning, the Saudis are giving out big money, so which means these sanctioning bodies get a significant cut of the sanctioning fee,
Well, that's
the fighter's
exactly
purses.
Right.
So
yeah,
not only is
enough.
it career high for the fighters, it's career high paydays for these sanctioning bodies.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Australia. I mean, we're only barely in January, and we're looking to have a pretty good year in boxing this year. That's for sure. So
yeah, we're already starting off hot.
We're starting off hot. We've got Jason's already had a successful defense. George is going to fight Loma. Jai's going to hopefully kick the living shit out of Briedis and get him again and get his belt back.
And then we have one topic before we miss it, because you probably was going to bring it up. We got to talk about what's going on with Tszyu. That date is off, right? I'm looking at it right now. They're saying it's going. It's done.
That was, well, as we said in the last video, right? They hadn't announced anything with 2 months to go, so it's all turned to shit.
It says he was unable to find a suitable opponent.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. I mean, there would be people lining up to fight Tszyu. There's plenty of guys out there that would fight him.
Yeah.
Plenty of guys. I mean, Virgil Ortiz and people. This pissed me off. I read the comments the other day. Oh, you don't know who Virgil Ortiz is. I don't fucking need to know who Virgil Ortiz is. He's a blown up welterweight who did fuck all at 147. Never fought Boots, Spence, Crawford, bloody Ugangas, Pacquiao, or anyone of note at 147, and he's got the audacity to call out Tszyu. Fuck him. How embarrassing. And Tszyu would knock him out inside of 3 rounds. So everyone says that I don't know what I'm talking about. Fuck you. I don't need to know who Virgil Ortiz is. I know who Tszyu is, and Tszyu would rip his fucking head off. So whoever bloody said that in the comments, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, well, I kind of figured he was going to get some heat for that. But yeah, here's the thing. He hasn't done it, especially at 154. However...
He's done nothing.
He's a good
fighter. He hasn't even had an official... and let me make this point. This has happened before. When has a guy had one notable fight from 147, had a nothing fight at 156, not 154, knocked out a guy in a round at 154, and then fought Tszyu? Do you remember when that happened before in boxing history? Who'd that happen to?
Not the top of my head.
Jeff Horn.
Oh,
remember?
Yeah.
Jeff Horn had his one fight at 156, knocked out Mundine in a round, and then got to Tszyu, and Tszyu annihilated him and put him into retirement. So,
Virgil Ortiz would beat the dog shit out of Jeff Horn. Like, any version of Jeff Horn. Any version of Jeff Horn. Especially at 147. That's my opinion.
Yeah, but Virgil Ortiz ain't going to fight Jeff Horn. He's fighting Tszyu, who beat the dog shit out of Jeff Horn.
But it also makes you question, like, wait a minute, like they couldn't get lube in, like, what's going on? We do know that he had a 3-fight PBC deal. I wonder if it's done, and they're like, no, we don't have no more use for Tszyu, or I don't know.
There's a lot of factors. I mean, people are no longer afraid to come to Australia because they got 3 blokes to come last year.
Yeah.
So I don't think that fear of coming to Australia is there anymore. I mean, Haney come twice. Loma's coming. So, that thing of coming to Australia I don't think is no longer a problem. How come he can't get an opponent I mean, there could be a myriad of factors why he can't get an opponent. I mean, maybe the money's not right for the opponent.
Yeah.
That's probably a factor, or I don't know. But it's just a shame because I was really looking forward to seeing how Tim did in Vegas. But as I've stated many times before, he doesn't need to fight overseas. He'd make more money here anyway. So.
But for some reason, he wants to fight in Vegas. He wants to be an American superstar. And I got to be honest, I like Tszyu and everything, but I don't think he's going to get there.
Well, he'd be better off going to the Saudis. They'd pay more anyway.
Yeah, there you go. Hell, he might even have a better chance in the UK than he would in the States. It's just that I just don't see it, especially if he's not allowed to fight the guys like the Terrence Crawfords, the Errol Spencers, the Jamel Charlos. I just don't see him being – I don't see a path of him being – a top guy right now in this landscape. I'm talking about not like the fighter. Take the fighter out. I'm talking about some on a marketability standpoint. And a big time American star here in the States. I mean, they've been doing an amazing job with him. But even when you look at the ratings for the fights that he's had over here, even when you look at when he fought Tony Harrison, that was a primetime card over here, midday card for you guys over in Australia. He just doesn't have it. I just don't see it. And as you said, he has a better chance of being a bigger star over there than he does here.
Exactly right. And he gets paid well. As we said, he's making north of $1 million a fight. So.
And then to come over here in the States, he couldn't just fight anybody. He had to fight somebody that was going to be able to like boost his profile and bring in tickets. Because let me be honest, a Tszyu fight in Vegas, let's say if he fought Erickson Lubin, 3,000 people, 5,000 max. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and he doesn't need that. He can fight. He can fill more stadiums and make more money and get more pay-per-view revenue here anyway. So he's better off staying where he is. Yeah. So I mean, and as we know, Las Vegas is slowly declining as a home of boxing. As Saudi rises, Las Vegas is falling. I mean, you got to have one to rise to one to fall. Yeah. So Vegas is on the decline. Yeah. So. I mean, in 3 or 4 years, as the Saudis right, by the end of the decade, they'll probably be the home of boxing the way they're going. Yeah, and that's what that looks like they're after, because already, look what they've done with the most expensive division in boxing. The heavyweight division is the most expensive division by far, with guys like Fury. And this is the low end. Guys like Fury commanding $10 million a fight. Usyk, $10 million a fight. Joshua, $10 million a fight. Deontay Wilder, $10 million a fight. You see what I'm saying? The list goes on. You got guys that make $5 million a fight, $1 million a fight, and they're putting them all on the same cards. Yeah, but $10 million to the Saudis, chicken feed. Exactly, but that's on the low end. Guys like Fury and Usyk are making 30, 40, but still $10 million is a lot of money for a fighter. It is. So it's looking like that they're aggressive, and I think they're using the heavyweight division to try to entice other guys from other promotional companies, the guys that are inactive, like PBC fighters. Hey, you're inactive. The Saudis are giving away money like candy. Look, so how long before they start branching out into other divisions? After all, look, they got the cruiserweight division now. The light heavyweight, they're going to be staging Bivol versus Bertabiev. So how long before they start making it to 147, 154? So it would be in Tszyu's best interest. If the call comes, go over there and get that money. Yeah, Mick can fight Lara over there. They'll throw him a quid. There you go. But see, PBC, if you notice, certain fighters, except for a guy like Deontay Wilder, because PBC couldn't afford him, are over there. The Saudis could. So they're the ones that's footing the bill. And Wilder is more, he's been dangling. From my understanding, he's no longer officially a full PBC fighter anymore, from my understanding. Closing thoughts? So I'm looking forward to it all. We've got Joy next month, then we've got Justice after that. Nothing happening in April yet, but I dare say there will be announcements coming soon. We can assume that Tim may be fighting in April, right? Maybe, possibly, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're still aiming for a mid-March card, but we'll wait and see what happens, because there's also Nikita's next fight. I think that is happening around April. It could be wrong. Okay. I'm only hearing murmurs at the moment. And then, of course, we've got Loma, Kambosos versus Loma in May. So lots to look forward to, and it's only January. So it's looking to, if all goes according to plan, we could have another huge year in Australian boxing.
Perfect. All right. With that being said, take your time out, like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy, and then all of the fights we've mentioned, especially the big ones, you can expect individual videos for each of those with more in-depth analysis and previews as we get closer to the fight. On the screen there, you can see Big J's Twitter page here at Old Mate Big J. Be sure to go over and give him a follow, and you can follow me at TstreeT Controversy right there on the screen. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.